Greetings. Welcome to In Conversation with Trevor, brought to you by Heart and Soul Broadcasting Services. I go beyond the headlines and beyond the sensational. Today I'm in conversation with Paula Marowa, the founder and executive director of Rukanda Pride, manufacturers of top-end leather products. If you enjoy this conversation, remember to subscribe, to like, and to share. Let's get down to some work. Paula Marowa, welcome to In Conversation with Trevor.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you for having me.
Explain to me the name Mazwita. I love middle names. What does it represent?
Mazwita means thank you.
You're right.
I guess my grandmother, because she's the one that named me Mazwita, was grateful that God gave them a beautiful child.
How many are you in your family?
We are three girls. I'm the middle child.
You're the middle child.
Yes.
You're 27 years old.
I'm 27.
I am blown away by what you are doing.
Thank you.
You manufacture this thing.
Yes.
I mean, this is beautiful.
Thank you.
Leather products.
Yes.
You also manufacture this bag and many others. You do belts.
Yes.
You do wallets.
Correct.
We will get to that part of your journey, but I want us to go to your beginnings. Your job at, you worked at, in Victoria Falls. You worked with Vision Consulting Africa, and you decided to quit. Talk to me about the experience of your early journey working in Victoria Falls and why you decided, I'm going to walk away from this.
Okay, so to begin with, the reason why I chose to go to Victoria Falls soon after completing my O-levels was because I needed to help out at home, considering that we were orphans. We were orphaned at an early age. I was 9 years and my little sister was 6. So we were taken to my paternal grandparents' place in Highfields. So when I finished my O-levels, I felt the need to help out at home, considering my little sister was still in school. That's why I had to go to Victoria Falls to look for a job. Actually, my cousin employed me there. I was working as a call agent. So what I'll do there is I would work and send money back home for the welfare of my little sister. After a while, I realized that the money was not really enough. So again, I made a decision to come back home. But when I came back home, my cousin then hooked me up to another company back in Harare, which is another call agency. So I was doing pretty much the same thing.
So you are an orphan. You lost your mother and father.
Correct.
Talk to me about that.
Well, my mother was a single mom. I never really had time with my father. So she passed on in 2006.
You were 9 years old.
I was 9 then. That's just where everything began, because then we were then taken to my grandparents and life then became different, because now it's different parenting style. You get to learn different things. And because my parents were divorced, we didn't really have a relationship with my father's side of the family. So it's like we were learning each other. So it was pretty hard, but adaptable.
And then your father passed on too?
My father passed on first.
Okay.
Yes, but then there wasn't really much of a difference because we were already staying with just our mom.
And you went to stay with your grandparents where?
In Highfields.
Highfields.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Like I mentioned, it was different because when my parents divorced, I think it wasn't a peaceful divorce. So we never really had a good relationship with my father's side of the family. So going there after my mother passed on was something new to us because we were going there and we had to learn another way of living, something that was different from what we were doing with our mom.
With that kind of upbringing, when you look back, what lessons, good or bad, did you get from this upbringing? You're losing your parents, you're young, your parents get divorced, you don't spend time with your father, and you eventually, are raised by your grandparents.
I think one lesson that I can draw from that is that it takes a village to raise a child. It's not always your parents that will bring you up. And whenever you go to stay with a different person, it's always advisable to quickly learn what they want so that there are no problems. You don't become a burden in their lives.
I like you quickly learn what they want.
True.
Because you're living with them, isn't it?
Yes.
And is grandmother still alive?
No, she passed on, sadly.
So she never got to see the kind of work that you do?
Oh, she never did. She never did.
And when did you start sensing that you had this gift to do what you're doing?
From a very young age.
How young?
I think from when my mother was alive, because my mother was a hustler. She was a corporate woman, but again, she was a hustler because she needed to take care of 3 girls on her own. So I think that anchored the entrepreneur in me. I could see that, okay, my mother is an independent woman and she can do this. She's hustling. So that to me paved a way for my entrepreneurial journey because sometimes we were forced to help her. I would like to say forced because at that time, mom would give you no choice. You were forced to go and help her.
And what was she hustling doing? What was her hustle?
She would sell different stuff. So my mother would go to Mozambique to get different stuff to sell. She never really had one hustle. So for me to then say, oh, my mom was in this kind of trade, it's actually hard to say that because she would do different things really. So sometimes she would bring stuff and then she would make us pack everything, or she would, whenever she's going for her deliveries, we would help out and everything like that.
So you say that when you went to Vic Falls and then you came back, you looked at fashion as a way of survival. Talk to me about that approach to life.
Okay, so when we were staying in Highfield with my grandparents, we were staying with my aunt as well, my father's sister. So she had a flea market. So because we were additions to the family, I always felt like, okay, I needed to help out. So I would go to the flea market because the school that I went to, we would hot sit. I don't know if you know what hot sit is.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
2 classes or 3 classes, same chair.
Exactly. So what we would do is, whenever I was meant to go to school in the afternoon, I would go to the flea market in the morning. Whenever I was meant to go.
How old were you then?
Soon after I went to Highfield, I was around 19. Yes, meaning my selling skills are 17 years now. 17 years of experience in selling. Anyway, so I would go to the flea market in the morning. When I was meant to go to school in the afternoon, then I would go to the flea market in the afternoon. No, vice versa. I would go to the flea market in the afternoon when I was meant to go to school in the morning. Yes. So my aunt used to sell baby wear. Yeah. So when I came back from Victoria Falls, I understood baby wear better than anything else. So I ventured into the very same thing. I just got myself a passport. Then my first trip was Messina because that's what I could afford at that time. So I went to Messina. I think I would get my stuff from Pep. Yes, because it was cheaper. Yes. So I would get my stuff from Pep, come back, sell as much as I could, because now when I came back, I had to take my little sister. By the way, my little sister at one point, me and my little sister were separated. She then went to my mother's side of the family, and I remained at my father's side of the family. So when I came back, I didn't have the power to say, I'm taking my little sister so that I can take her back to my father's side. So I had to make a decision to just take her in and stay with me. Yeah. I was 17, by the way.
Wow.
Yes. So now, because I had my little sister's school fees, I had our upkeep, rentals, I had to work hard. I had to juggle between the business and the job.
I'm drawn to your saying that early in your life, you had this drive to help. 9, 10 years old, you want to help your sister. Talk to me about that and where it comes from and what it feels like.
I think helping out in the beginning, it felt like I was obliged to. Until it just started to feel like, oh, I have to because it's my sister. If I don't, then who will? And just really knowing that we were additions to the family. They never had a relationship with us, but they took us in. So I felt the need to help.
What has that done to your outlook to business, to life? I mean, 9 years old, you are jokingly saying you have 17 years experience, but that's the reality of 17 years of experience. What has that done to your approach to business, to approach to life?
Well, I think I always say that my ultimate purpose in life is to uplift as I climb. I do this because as I was growing, I mean, someone took me in when I had just finished my O-levels. In as much as I passed, because I chose to work and take care of my little sister, I didn't have any experience. The only experience that I had was selling in the streets at the flea market. But someone took me in their corporate, taught me how to handle their clients over the phone. That means then they trusted me with little to no experience. So I always give chances to people like me because I know what it feels like not to have. I know what it feels like not to be experienced, but needing the job.
And being given an opportunity. Do you remember who gave the people that gave you those opportunities, the people that opened doors for you, so that we honor them as we have this conversation?
Yes, definitely. Some of them do not like to be mentioned.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's mention those who...
I think the first people that I would mention that gave me the first chance are my relatives, my grandparents, my aunt, everyone that took part in my upbringing. I wasn't really a go-go's child. I was everyone's child. So that means this term I'm staying with my grandparents, the next term I'm staying with my other aunt, the next term I'm staying with my uncle. So I really want to honor those people because they played a part in my life. And obviously my cousin, Leonora, who took me in Victoria Falls with nothing, just my O-level. And the people that continue to pave the way for me in my entrepreneurial journey, I always honor them. Some of them do not like to be mentioned.
It takes a village, as you say.
Yes.
We're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we're going to get into this beautiful work that you are doing here. So please don't go away. Join us on the other side when we get into the nitty-gritties of what Paula is doing.
I was inexperienced. Okay. I needed the money at that time, and I hadn't learned.
Hello, my name is Trevor Ncube, the host of In Conversation with Trevor. I'm here to invite you to join us for the Ideas Festival Conference at the Troutbeck Hotel in Nyanga from the 22nd to the 24th. Last year on December 9, we had a successful launch of the Ideas Festival where Yvonne Chaga Chaga, Tinyashe Nyamudoka, and Stafford Massey inspired a room full of movers and shakers. So why should you join us? We passionately believe that for any society to develop, it does so on the back of a vibrant marketplace of ideas. We have an engaging program for you and a network group of people in the room. We have an engaging program that includes ideas panels, fireside chats, master classes, an ideas tank, and an ideas dinner. You can't afford not to be in this network group of people. See you at the Troutbeck Hotel in Nyanga. Welcome back to our conversation with Paula Marowa, the founder and executive director of Rukanda Pride, manufacturers of high-end leather products. So, Paula, let's get down to business. You manufacture this stuff. You manufacture these shoes, like I said, and a lot more other things. And you've called your company Rukanda Pride. First of all, the name Rukanda.
Rukanda means leather.
Aha.
Yes.
Okay.
Ganda. It comes from Ganda, but I just really
My Shona is not very good, as you can see.
Oh, clearly. Yes. So Rukanda means leather.
Mm-hmm.
Then combining the word pride, I just wanted it to come out as the pride of the African leather.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And talk to us, take us to that place where this idea begins to simmer and boil and bubble under inside of you, and then it expresses itself the way it's done. Where does it actually start and how?
So when I was doing the baby wear, I was a cross-border at that time. I was a teenager. I had gone to do a delivery in Chitungwiza. Then when I was coming back, I stumbled upon an old man, well, not really old, but someone who was now doing something out of a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Mr. Stole. He was making shoes under a tree at his house. So the entrepreneur in me was triggered because under normal circumstances, what you see is someone repairing shoes, especially in places like Chitungwiza, Highfield and everything. It was new to me to see someone actually really designing a shoe and then do the production up until, it's a complete shoe. I was quite impressed. Then I decided, I was like to myself, listen, I can make money with him. Because I realized that, okay, he's just making these shoes, but I don't think he's doing so much in terms of marketing the product, So I went to him, we had a conversation. Well, word of mouth, nothing was signed. We had an agreement. Mr. Stole, what I'm going to do is I'm going to market these products. You produce, we sell to the client. So it's honestly safe for me to say I started with nothing. Wow. So I started taking pictures off the internet, which was one of my biggest mistakes. So I took pictures from the internet. I would post and market and tell people, oh, we make shoes, right? So people started coming in. So what I would say is because we make these shoes and we want your commitment, you need to give us a deposit as a way of showing commitment. Mm-hmm. So the clients would give me a deposit. I would use it as cost of production. I would go and give Mr. Stole. He buys the raw materials, labor and everything. When he's done with the shoes, I would go collect, deliver to the client. The balance would be my profit. Mm-hmm. So we carried on like that until the client started to see a difference, to say, this is what you post. This is what you're delivering.
Wow. So what you were posting and what you were delivering were two different things.
Totally different.
Why did you do that?
I was inexperienced. Okay. I needed the money at that time and I hadn't learned. It was my first time getting into this kind of business. Remember, I was used to just getting clothes that are ready-made and selling. That was quite easy. But now having to market something that's made locally, that you are portraying that you have made, and then selling. And because Sekuru didn't have any pictures, I didn't have any choice. And normally the kind of leather that you find locally and what we see on the internet. On the internet, it's usually pictures that are edited and everything like that. So I didn't know at that time. To the point that at one point, I was actually posted on Name and Shame as during one of the day. on a page called Name and Shame.
Wow.
But now that was a fast forward. But whilst I was doing shoes, we recognized a need for belts because now the clients would say, listen, I love the shoe. Well, the design would be nice. They would complain to say, but it's not as shiny as you say, but it's nice, it's nice. Then they would just take, sometimes out of pity, sometimes out of, oh, okay, anyway, it's nice, I'll just take it. So as I was marketing the shoes, someone different approached me and said, I make belts, wallets, bags, and everything. And I was like, really? Because I'm in need of belts right now. So I said, okay, make a sample for me. Again, we got into an agreement. He would do the same agreement I had with Mr. Stoli. I would just get deposits from clients, and then I would give him. Then the balances were my profit. So we carried on like that until one day a client ordered a bag. Yeah, again, what I ordered was what I got. It's like I hadn't really learned my lesson with the shoes because no one really had come to me with that kind of approach. So this client wasn't happy. She didn't come to me. That's when she went on Name and Shame.
Wow.
She posted. She wasn't really happy. Honestly, that really almost took me out of business. I was demotivated. I was like, maybe this is not for me. First of all, I'm not the one making these things, but I'm now being the one bashed and everything. So maybe let me leave it. But then I realized that I remembered the reason why I was doing it. I looked at my little sister. We needed the money. Then I woke up, dusted myself, and I was like, I'm going to start over.
You remembered the why.
I remembered the why. I dusted myself and I was like, I'm going to start over if I have to. Contacted the client, apologized to her. I gave her a refund. It was hard at that time because every cent counted. And to give a client her money back was the hardest decision. But then I had to do it. So then I talked to the guy that was making the bags then. We corrected the mistake. This time I took swatches with me. Then I told her, this is the leather that we get. Choose, because we're still going to make a bag for you. Then she chose. So now I delivered exactly what I had promised. I asked her, don't remove the post.
Yeah.
Go below the post in the comment section. Just tell the people that we made the correct bag and you're happy about it. Because she had offered, oh, okay, fine, I'm going to delete the post because you finally made something that I really want. And I said, no, don't do it. Because people are still going to have that perception of us. I would rather you go back to the post and just tell them that, okay, we have made something different because mistakes happen. She went, she did that, and out of that, we actually got a lot of clients. That brought me back. That gave me a new lease of life in this leather business. So now I had realized my mistakes. I went on the page, deleted every internet picture that I had ever posted. Now I had learned that before you deliver anything, you take pictures and post exactly what you produce. So that was, I think, one of my first business decisions. Well, not really first, but I think the hardest decision I had to make. But then that came out better for me in the end.
Well, I mean, you've already hinted at the lessons. I mean, that's a tough lesson, isn't it? It's a costly lesson.
It was.
Of how not to do business. How would you expand on the lessons to the viewers at home from what you got from these two mistakes their mistake that you repeated? What lessons come out of that?
I think for someone who is...
Or maybe before you share that, it's an opportunity for me to share. We were trying to expand this place that we are in, and we saw on the internet somebody was doing amazing offices, and we looked, wow, beautiful offices with a garden. Call the young man, come, let's show us what you can do and stuff. And long and short of it is, we discovered that his advert in the magazine was a copy and paste from the internet. I wonder how many young people are doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I broke a stride as you were sharing the lesson from this kind of thing. What are the lessons?
I think the first lesson is whenever you decide to get into manufacturing, if you really want to protect your brand, then you need to be authentic. You need to sell exactly what is there, because then you would disappoint the client and that would damage the brand.
Have you recovered?
Yes.
Fully recovered?
Fully recovered.
Right.
I started actually recovering from that post.
Mm-hmm.
So this was before Rukanda Pride got into its own manufacturing.
Right.
I was just still dealing with people that would make the products for me, and I would deliver to the clients and everything. So this was in 2017. 2018, I decided to formalize the business, and I intentionally called it Rukanda Pride for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So in 2018, I carried on with the same way of operation, and 2019. Now, because these are products and people really want to see samples, I felt the need to open a store.
Mm-hmm.
But I was inexperienced in this kind of business. I went and I opened a shop in Masasa there. Somewhere my target market wouldn't come. But because I hadn't done enough research, I just thought opening a store was what was needed at that time. Again, it was a mistake because I wasted money on rentals, on the boards, on everything really. But then people wouldn't come. Now that means that shop was now a liability because we would just pay rentals, but still do deliveries, still go to meet the clients in town for them to view the products. So I realized there's no need for this shop. People kept complaining, no, it's too far, we can't come there. It was disheartening for me. And because I had felt like, oh, I have achieved something, I have a shop. Can you imagine?
What lesson did you learn from that mistake?
I think don't rush, especially when you're into business. There's something called calculated risks. Do your research. Who's my target market? Will they come here? Is there enough parking? All of that, you need to consider a lot of things before just doing things for the sake of doing things.
You have learned the hard way, eh?
I have almost all my life. I always call myself a learning leader. I am a learning leader. Every chance I get, I draw my lessons and I carry on.
Some mistakes can take you out of business.
True.
Are you aware of that?
True.
And are you ready for that?
Never ready for that, to be honest. No one is ever ready to go out of business, but that's why we always try to correct our mistakes as much as we can and as quick as we can.
Yeah. Yes. I suppose when I'm saying, are you ready for that? It's a way of saying, has experience taught you enough to be able to avoid getting out of business?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
Let's get into your products. What do you manufacture? Shall we just give the audience, you've these bags. What else do you do? This is a lovely, lovely bag.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
What else do you do?
So our product portfolio ranges from bags, briefcases, wallets, belts, shoes, wine holders, corporate folders, key rings, and a whole lot of stuff. Our latest offering actually are leather portraits, something that I find unique because these kind of portraits do not lose value. Your picture will stay like that forever because we always say that leather has a lifetime guarantee.
Yeah.
So imagine engraving your picture on a leather piece, something that is going to stay forever.
You've manufactured this?
Yes.
So where do you manufacture?
Okay, so we are located in Islay. Our office is at number 4 Caithness Road. That is where we're doing both the manufacturing and the administration of Rukanda Pride. And
talk to me, or maybe let's take a break now. When we come back, I want you to talk us through your creative process, how you decide to manufacture one piece or the other. So please don't go away. You join us as we get into more details about how Paula manufactures her products.
So I now have the machines, I have the raw materials, I have the tools, I have everything. but where do I get people to work with?
Welcome back to our conversation with Paula Marowa, founder and executive director of Rukanda Pride, manufacturers of fine leather products. Let's go to, where do you go to school?
I learned at different primary schools. I learned at Southerton Primary School when my mom was alive. Then when we moved to Marondera, I went to Godfrey Higgins. Then when I came back to Harare, when I was now staying with my grandparents after my mother passed on, I went to Mtasa Primary, which is where I then got up to grade 7. From there, I went to Highfield High 1.
Form 1?
Form 1 to 4.
Okay.
And then I could not continue because of the need to take care of my little sister. But fast forward, I then did a diploma in office administration with the Institute of Administration and Commerce. And I am looking into doing law because it's always been my childhood dream.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Awesome. What do you think your education taught you? I mean, you went as far as Form 4, but you've done amazing things. There are graduates who've not been able to do what you've done. What do you think your education has taught you, your formal education taught you?
To be very honest, maybe the diploma in office administration really just taught me a little bit about business etiquette, you know. Sometimes you don't, because remember, I am coming from the streets, from the flea market. That does not apply in the corporate world, and I am dealing with corporates most times. So yeah, that really helped me with business etiquette, how you communicate with be it your clients, your subordinates, your suppliers, and all of that. So I would say that taught me, and maybe my high school really cemented my leadership skills because I was in the junior parliament and I was Zimbabwe junior ambassador to the UN. So because we would speak and debate a lot of topics, really that I think that cemented my leadership skills.
But it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, that your biggest education has come from the University of Life.
True.
Not I guess so.
True.
True.
Oh yes, not I guess so. True. Very true.
Talk to me now about, before we took the break, I did hint that we let's go to how you decide to make stuff, the inspiration, the motivation, the creative process. Talk to me about that. Is Mr. Stoller still with you?
Well, here and there. Remember, he was old. So I like to call myself an inclusive leader. I don't make decisions alone when it comes to products, because I think for us to even begin production, we started soon after COVID. Yeah. Because we made money in COVID. Yeah. What we would do in COVID was, I realized that, okay, I need money. And now everything is closed. So I carried on with marketing. And I realized, okay, so delivery companies are allowed to move around, but I'm not. How about I get into business with them? So I got into partnership with the delivery company during COVID, the entirety of the COVID era. So remember the people that I was working with, Mr. Stoller and the other guy who would do the wallets, belts and everything, we're working from their houses. So the delivery guys in the morning, they would come to my house, we would have a meeting. I would make sure that they have their sanitizers and everything that was needed. So they would go collect deposits from clients. And at that time, competition was less because most shops are closed. So your birthdays, your celebrations, your gifting and everything, Valentine's, I made sure we're operating. So he would just go collect deposits from clients, write a receipt, go to Mr. Stole in Chitungwiza, collect the shoes, deliver to client, get the money, bring to me. So the rest of the COVID, we operated like that.
Wow.
That means after COVID, I was able to buy machines. I was now able to open a store somewhere the target market would actually really come.
Where is the store?
It was by Corner Samura in Enterprise then.
You've moved it?
Yes, we have. We
Where
got bigger offices now for Caithness.
Okay.
Yes. So that's when we then started production. So when I started, leather products are something that you don't just wake up and make. And you don't just find anyone who can make leather products. So I now have the machines, I have the raw materials, I have the tools, I have everything. But where do I get people to work with? And for me to then go to these people and say, let's work together, because that was the initial plan. Yeah. I thought I would convince them to say, how about Mr. Stole and the team? You come and I get the other guy to come, and then we're like one big family. Considering now we have better machines, we have better raw materials and everything, but none of them were excited to hear about that.
Wow. I
actually realized that I now look like competition. Oh, now you want to make on your own. Yeah, that was a bit hard. And to Mr. Stole, I had, because we were marketing these shoes and he was slow in production, I decided to get 2 guys that could help him. It wasn't much at that time, but I realized that we actually made a difference in these guys' lives because we took them off the streets. They now had some sort of living out of it. So, and there was now transgenerational transfer of skills from Mr. Stole to these guys. So they were now able to make the shoes. But for me to then convince them to come, now they were like Mr. Stole's babies. So it really took me time. But Mr. Stole, being an old man, he was like, listen, I really don't have anything against you. You've helped me. We've worked together for a long time. Take these guys with you. At the end of the day, you're the one that gave them to me. So they came, and I think one of the first people that I worked with was a guy called Michael. I always talk about him. Michael was 17, turning 18 at that time when he came to me and he said, I need a job. I don't know how to do anything. I can even be a cleaner. I took him in, not because I needed him at that time, because I didn't even know what he was going to do, but I needed to give him an opportunity because I remembered someone gave me an opportunity when I was just like him. So he came in, and when he came in, I had bought a heat stamp. So it's the one that does this. Yes. So I was like, okay, Michael, what I need you to do is to arrange the letters. Do that for now. But I think because he was ambitious, he wanted something better than that. But he had no one to teach him. So fortunately, someone connected me to, he's our manager right now. His name is Nkosi. Nkosi came. Nkosi could do everything else except stitching. And it's the cornerstone of our production process. There's nothing that you can do without the stitching. You can do the assembling and everything, but it will not be a shoe without the stitching. It will not be a bag or anything else. So Nkosi, but he had an idea of what stitching is, what you do. He just didn't have the precision. Guess what Michael did? He taught himself.
Oh, wow.
When I was out there looking for a stitcher, I think it took him 2 days because he was doing it manually. He made sure that his stitches are straight and everything. Then they called me, come and see. I'm thinking, what happened? Because I wasn't there. I was always out there looking for clients. I went to the workshop. Our first workshop was a small room that it was horrible, but that's where we started.
Small beginnings.
Humble beginnings. So when they called me in, I went. I was worried. I'm getting there. I'm seeing Michael was stitching. I was happy.
Pleasantly surprised.
Elated. I was so happy. And then I was like, so guys, can you make something? I actually really want to see. He carried on stitching. Now he's actually our main stitcher.
And which are your biggest products and who are your clients, roughly?
I think our fast moving products are wallets, belts, and shoes.
Okay.
But when it comes to corporates, now we're looking at bags, file holders, key rings, wine holders, especially when we're getting into the festive season. Yeah, so every other thing is just really in the middle.
Wine holders.
Wine holders.
Interesting. Yes. And these briefcases?
Yes.
Are they moving?
Yes, they are.
Very durable, hey? I mean, you buy one that's
definitely.
It lasts forever.
Forever. You can even pass it on, hey?
Yes. And when you look at our environment, what is it that you think would help the growth of your business right now? What do you need most? One, in terms of the policy environment and for your business to get to the next level? Because clearly, Mr. Stoller was for a season.
Yes.
And then you get to another season, and you are in a different season now. And definitely. from what you're saying and listening to you, what's the next thing?
I think what we need the most right now is funding, patient capital at concessionary rates, because sometimes I think as small entrepreneurs, growing businesses, as growing businesses, yes, you get to a point where bootstrapping is a slow way of growth. You need funding, and because banks sometimes require collateral that we don't even have. I wish there was a win-win situation where corporates or the government or the international community would integrate small businesses into their supply chain, give them capital, or rather support them, not just in terms of funding, but also capacity building. Because sometimes you can get a big order, you can't finance it. And then when you try to get order financing, sometimes payments come in late. You're already under pressure, So what we need the most right now is patient funding.
Have you gotten any loan from a bank?
No.
The
growth of Rukanda has been solely relying on bootstrapping.
But you're doing amazing things.
Thank you very much.
Things which ordinarily, I mean, I'm not a banker, but should be bankable. I mean, I'm very critical of our banking sector. But I suppose it says that we need, like you're saying, we need patient capital. We need capital that understands startups and is passionate about startups.
True.
The banks we have at the moment more bean counters than anything else, unfortunately.
Yes.
What's the next big thing for you? What is it that you'd want to achieve?
Okay, so personally, like I said, I want to continue to grow personally. So I am going to enroll myself into law school. Now I'm saying that for everyone to hear so that I'll be held accountable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and for the business, I think the plans that we have are to slowly let go of retail. Retail is slow, it's stressing. We want to get into B2B, B2G, and export, because I think that's where the real money is. We obviously want to get into exotic skins, because I think that's what really attracts them.
What are exotic skins?
Your game skins.
Okay.
Your
crocodile?
Elephant skin, crocodile,
Elephant?
yeah.
Okay.
So that's exactly where we are trying to go. We also would want to see our products in at least one shop in most of our airports. Right now, we are in partnership with Liam & Co. It's a duty-free shop at the RGM International Airport.
Do you have an idea how big a check would change your life?
Definitely.
How much?
I think 100,000 right now. It's so that we can get machinery that makes our process faster. We need to get automated machines, because right now, whenever we get a big order, it means people are going to work. We usually call it a marathon production, where we work day, night, because we're trying to beat the lead time.
Do you have the orders?
We do get them, obviously, because this is a niche market. It's not always...
Yeah.
So sometimes it's very low. sometimes it's at the peak. So whenever it's at the peak, we always take advantage of that. We want to get as much orders as we can get.
What machines do you want?
Automated stitchers. We need automated cutters because that is where most of our time is taken, cutting, assembling, and stitching. Yes. So if we get automated machines that make the process faster, it means now we can feed both the local and the international market. We can produce, first of all, better quality, two, in a faster time. Yeah.
How many people do you have working for you now, working with you?
Right now, we are 8, including myself.
And what machines do you have at the moment?
We have about 10 stitching machines. We have a laser engraver, which does all the engraving that you see. We have skiving machines. I think that's basically what we have. And
you have gotten a number of awards. ZNCC Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 2002, Forbes Africa 30 and 30 list, ZimTrade Eaglenest Best Value Edition, and Young Indie SADC Top Innovator. What do these awards mean to you?
I think it's more of validation because remember where I'm coming from. Sometimes I suffer from imposter syndrome. So when you realize that, I'm actually being recognized, I think I'm doing a great job. It gives some sort of validation and confidence that, I'm in the right path. Yes.
And has any of these awards opened doors for you?
Yes, definitely. Especially the ZimTrade one, because then I think that's when some corporates started to really appreciate the work, to say, okay, because ZimTrade is an export energizing company. So they're like, okay, so if ZimTrade can say you are this good, best value edition, it means we can work with you. So it really did open some doors for me, definitely.
This gives me an opportunity to speak to young people out there. Awards are fantastic.
True.
But Paula, there's a scandal of awards at the moment. Young people, stay away from certain awards. My team does not want me to mention some of these companies which are coming up with all sorts of awards. Be proud of what you've done.
True.
If a company asks you to pay to receive an award, that's not an award.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that are doing that. I've been approached to pay $10,000 to receive an award. And I said, I'm not doing that. Okay?
Who should be paying?
Exactly. But people are paying out there to get awards. I mean, for me, there's a couple of companies. When I see a young person say they've got an award from these companies, I'm not interested in you. You're not serious about your brand. An award should be from credible institutions, reputable institutions, and you should not accept an award from a company that wants you to pay to receive an award.
But sometimes as young entrepreneurs, we don't know that, hey?
Now you know it.
Now we know.
Now you know it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about times of crisis. Times when this lady shames you, names you and shames you. How do you deal with crisis? How do you deal with failure? How do you look at failure and crisis?
I think I always remember the why. Why am I doing this? It used to be just about me and my little sister, but now I have a team of people behind me.
Your why has expanded.
My why has expanded. I know that, okay, if I dwell on this failure and decide to quit, what are these people going to do? What kind of impact would I have put in their lives if I just wake up and say, I'm leaving? This is it. We're quitting. All of you go back home. It's no longer just about me. So I always remember the why, and I always dust myself up, find a way to make things work through that crisis.
Do you have a process of reflecting on that why? Or how do you make sure you don't stray? Do you have a place that you go to? Do you have a ritual? What do you do? What do you do that?
To be very honest with you, if there is one place that is so serene for me, it is the workshop.
Aha.
Those guys make me happy. I promise you, our workshop is like one happy place.
Wow.
Even if you come today, you will be like, oh my God, I want to
I'm
leave
going to be
here.
visiting. I'm going to be visiting.
You should, definitely. So whenever I'm stressed, most times I just get into the workshop. It's always fun in there. Those guys are always laughing. The point that sometimes when I get in there and they're quiet, I get very worried. I want to know who had a fight with who, what's going on in here, you know.
Are you exporting anything now?
Not yet, even though we do have an export plan. We obviously want to start with SADC countries because of logistical reasons and because we would want to take advantage of the free trade agreements. Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you can see it, but I'm so excited talking to somebody like you, somebody who makes real stuff. I keep on saying that. Not the bingers who have made lots of money, but you can't exactly tell how they made that money. This really excites me. Your story is going to be a great inspiration to a lot of people. But I must ask you this. Help us understand how, with the difficulties that you've had in growing up, you haven't gone to Yale and to Harvard, but you're doing amazing things. Some people will say to you, some young people, 27-year-olds will say to you, you don't have a father. I didn't have a father. I don't have a mother. I didn't go to school. Therefore, this is what I am. And I'm going to sit here and moan and cry. What do you say to those people?
I think I always say that your past should never define what your tomorrow is. It's really up to you. Your life is in your hands. It's honestly and entirely up to you to make a difference. And I believe in eating what we kill, hey? Because especially as a woman and as a girl child, if you sit there and mourn and say, oh, I need help, because obviously when you're just sitting there, what you're going to look for is just, can you please give me some money? And sometimes it doesn't come cheap. You end up wasting your life over something that you could have just done with your own life. You know, I would rather someone says, okay, I make $1 a day and I'm making a living out of it, you know, and then grow out of that, than to say, okay, I'm waiting for this person to give me money today. If they're not there, if they don't show up, I have to look for another person, you know. Now it's like you're putting your life at risk. So my advice will always be like, get up, girl. Yeah.
What if I push back and say, you're saying that because you're lucky, you've gotten a break? What would you say? Talk to me. Talk back.
Which break? Which break did I ever get in my life? I think I've had it hard. I still have it hard. Which break? I've never had any type of funding. I've never had any type of financial help or anything. Sometimes I would leave Chitungwiza at 3 a.m. waiting for orders because I would need to go to work in the morning. So there's no luck in there.
Get up, girl.
Get up, girl.
Have you experienced the environment of doing business as a 27-year-old young woman? Have you experienced discrimination? Have you experienced the tough side of being a woman in a market that's predominantly male-dominated? Have you experienced it? And if you have, what does it look like?
Obviously, it comes with I think the hardest thing for me as a woman, as a young woman in a male-dominated industry, is sometimes people don't just take you seriously. They're like, what do you mean you make shoes? You're a girl. Where do you know making shoes from? You know? So it takes a lot of convincing to actually say, no, we manufacture these things. And sometimes really just having these men look down upon you, you know. But, hey, I believe in domination.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What is story? What is story? I mean, you have inspired me.
Thank you.
Your work inspires me. Your work speaks for itself. You're authentic. You've made mistake. You copied stuff on the internet. We paid for it. let's turn to books now. And share with us. Do you have any 3 books that you've read that have helped? Do you read books?
I try.
You try.
Sometimes I'm a learning leader, like I said. So,
what books have you read that you would want to share?
I think the first one would be 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, which talks about domination and never really taking into consideration that you have competition. There's nothing called competition. There's always something called domination. And
so you're out to dominate, girl?
I am here to dominate.
I love that.
Yes.
It's a book I've read, and I've bought a copy for a couple of copies for a couple of people. It's a beautiful book. It's really, yeah, fantastic, great book.
Right, and the second one would be Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. Club. That one has helped me a lot because literally I wake up before 5 because obviously I want to pray and dedicate my day to the Lord because I'm very big on faith. But I think my key takeaway on that was the 20-20-20 rule, where you dedicate your 20 minutes on self-reflection, your other 20 minutes on exercise, which sometimes don't really happen.
Okay.
And then obviously the last 20 into planning your day. Yes. And then the third one is my current read, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And it basically talks about leadership not being inherited. It is learned. It's a learning curve. You're constantly learning as a leader.
Wow. Paula, talking to you has been very inspiring. Your lessons are authentic. You've made costly mistakes. You've recovered. I have no doubt that you are going places. That you are going to dominate, girl. Remember what Peter Thiel says in that book, that if you're going to dominate, your technology ought to be different. It ought to be unique. So we wish you all the very best with this beautiful work that you're doing. You've come from a very tough environment, but you've been raised by a village. May the village continue to raise you.
True.
May you continue to be obedient to what the village says, eh?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming across.
Thank you for having me, Trevor.
Wonderful. Allow me to turn now to our viewers who are all over the world to say thank you so much for following the show. Remember, we are a weekly show. We are out on YouTube every Mondays, 7 a.m. Central African time. To ensure that you don't miss out on any of these quality conversations, remember to subscribe, to like and share. We see your comments. We read all of them and we try to respond sometimes. Keep them coming. We have gone a step further and create and put all our content on our website for your viewing and listening pleasure. We've got podcasts there. Go to our website, click on the podcast for your listening pleasure. Thank you for your support. Until next time, cheers to you all.